Hello everybody, Coding Atlas here, and today we are studying strings and working with files. So what can we do with a string? Firstly, we can concatenate it. So if we write this line here, you get hello with two exclamation signs. Let's print it out, see? And you can clearly see that we have hello and this was added to the string. But also we can call some methods on the strings. For example, instead of doing this, there is a method called concat, which means concatenation. Concatenation means adding to strings. So if you write string.concat and you write text, and second parameter will be two exclamation signs, this will return us a string. And because it doesn't modify the text itself, we need to modify it ourselves like this. Because otherwise it just returns it and it does nothing with it. This also works. You can see it here. Also, we can split a string. Let's say we have this string fruits, and we want to get an array of all of the fruits without the commas. So what we do here is, first let's create an array called string fruits are. It goes here. Fruit split. And here we put as the parameter the character which divides every single word. In our case it's comma. Let's try to run it. But first let's try print out all the elements of this array. Here we go, we have an array with 3 elements, and all the elements are basically from this string. We just take out the commas and we get every single element apart. Also we can do string join. For example, we want to join it back, but let's say with spaces instead of commas. Let's create a string called new fruits equals to string.join. Here we put a separator, let's say it's space, and then we put an array. In our case it's fruits array. Let's see. Oh wait, we don't print it. Let's actually print it. In new fruits. And look at this. We have this string separated by spaces, all the elements from the array. We can do it with any array, not only with this one. It doesn't matter which array it is, we can just take and add them all together in a string. Then we can trim. Let's say we have this string text. This string has a lot of spaces, which it doesn't actually need. Like, let's add some more here. You can see there's a lot of space which we don't actually need. And sometimes when you retrieve data from somewhere, you can have this problem. So what you do is text.trim, and I think, does it return anything? Yeah, it returns a string, so we need to put it in text. Normally it doesn't modify the text, but it returns the string which we put back in the text, so we have the new string inside of the text. Let's try to print it. And we see there is no extra spaces here. It's actually just the console, it's not the spaces. Okay, so also we can do to upper and to lower. For example, let me do text equals to text to upper. So now if you print it, all the characters will become uppercase. Let's see. Yes, we have them uppercase. And if we do to lower, and let's add some uppercase characters too, all the elements will be lowercase. We used this in the previous video in the project because we wanted the command to be case insensitive. So even if the user writes the command with capital letters, we still process it as the lowercase because we used to lower. So it doesn't matter which case the command was written in. Then we can do a method called substring. We can get a substring of a string. So let's say we have hello world here, and we want to get only the world. what we do in this case? We write string, let's call it subtext equals to text dot substring. Now we need to put a start index and an end index. Let's see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 is the start index, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 is the end index. And let's see if it returns us hello, world. Here we get an error. Why do we get an error? Oh, okay, this is the length, it's not the end index. So the length is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. Now let's run it. Yeah, we get world. That's how it works. But now you may wonder, how did we get the index? What is the index about? Why does a string have an index? Because a string normally, in older programming languages like C, strings were not a thing. String is a custom data type which was made by developers and added to the programming language, but normally there was no strings. So what they did is create an array of chars. And this array would contain multiple characters, like let's say H, A, L, L, O. This would be a string in the case of older programming languages. It would be written like hello, but under the hood, it would work like this. So, today, strings in modern programming languages work the same way. They're just dynamic and they have a lot of methods on them and some nuances which make them more convenient to use than char arrays. So we can process a string as an array. Let's say we have text equals to hello. Now let's try print it backwards. How would we do that? We write a for loop where we start from the last element, text.length -1. I is greater or equal to 0, and I minus minus. So we go from the last element to the first element, and we print it. Console.write text I. Now if we write it, it should go OLLEH and print them. Let's see. It does the exact thing. So it also means we can address text 1 and it will return us E. Text 2 will return us L, text 4 will return us O, and so on. And we can change the characters also like this. So now let's take a look on how we work with the files. Firstly, we need to include one thing called system.io. Using system.io. Since we include the library from C#, which will be used for working with files. Then, to work with a file, we have a construction like this, using, and here we declare a file stream. Let's declare a file stream and call it fs. Then we need to initialize it, a new file stream. Here we give the name first. Let's say we give the name text.txt. Then we need to give a mode. We need to give a file mode. File mode dot. So here you see multiple file modes, but the ones we'll work with is open or create and open. So let's open or create. This one we'll use for writing to a file, because normally we don't know if a file exists, and if it exists it will just open it, otherwise it will create it and then open it. So what we do here? Firstly, we need to convert our string to a byte array. So let's say we have a string here, string text equals to hello world. How do you write it down in the file? We need to convert it to a byte array. For this, we declare firstly a byte array. Let's call it text bytes equal to system.encoding text.encoding UTF-8 get bytes. Actually, we can use here multiple encodings like ASCII, UTF-8, but I prefer UTF-8 because it supports more characters. So here, we get the bytes, we put them in the array, then to print it, we do fs.write and we just put text bytes. Then the offset, in our case it's 0. Then we just put the amount of bytes we put, so it's basically the length of the text bytes array. Let's see if it works. We saw nothing on the screen, but now if you check your folder of the project, you check bin, debug. Basically you check where your exe file is, you go to bin, debug, and any folder there is. It can be different name because it depends on the version of your .NET. There you have your exe, and there you have your txt file which was generated. And here you have our string. As simple as this. Now, let's try to read from a file. Let's say we have an empty string, and we want to read from the file to put it in the string. Let's change the mode to open, because we know the file exists. If it doesn't exist, what are we gonna read? Then we also declare a byte array, but in this case we do a different thing. We initialize byte array with the length of stream.length. In our case it's a fast.length. So this means we have a text byte array, and then when we have it the length of all file. So as long as the file is, it can fit in text bytes completely. If we want to limit it, we can give whatever we want here, like how many bytes we want. But we'll better make it the whole file length so we can store whole file, because we don't know how exactly many bytes we have in there. So now, instead of this, we do read, we put the text bytes, offset 0, count text bytes length, or fs length because it's the same thing. But let's keep it text byte length. And now it should work. But we don't convert it, so it's basically going into text bytes. Now let's convert it and write it into a string. Text equals to system.text encoding utf8 get string. Now if we run it, let's see. We have nothing, because we don't print it. Let's try to print it. Console write line text. And we get hello world. But if we change the content of the text file, let's say just some random characters, we can even like do new line and so on. Let's close it, let's try run it. And we have different characters here. It reads the whole file. And that was all for today. Thank you for watching the video. Leave the comments and ask questions if you have any. If you want to support the channel, subscribe to it and leave a like. See you in the next one. Goodbye.